Good Thursday morning, everybody. I hope you are doing super well, staying safe. The pandemic's getting a little bit scary again, so stay inside, be good. We've got some special guests today, our good partners and friends from Unicheck. Give us a little wave there, Unicheck friends.
Hey.
There they are. We've also got some special guests from Claremont Lincoln University. We've got Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe, give us a wave.
Hey, everyone.
And Holly Owens from Touro College.
Hello.
Hey, Holly. Thanks, everybody, so much for joining us. We're excited to talk today about making that transition to online learning. And I'm going to hand it over to the Unicheck team. We're going to kind of bounce back and forth today with Dr. Joe, Holly, and everybody else. And I will jump in, as always, with some silly questions. They won't be too silly. Holly, Joe, you don't need to worry. We don't need to talk to your PR team. I won't make you look bad, I promise. If I do, I promise a really nice gift basket if I do anything stupid. So with that, Unicheck team, let's hand it over to you, and good luck.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So, Mark, I think I'm supposed to share my screen right now so that everybody can see our today's topic on their screens. Huge thanks to Instructure team for having us today. This is an amazing opportunity. And we can, by this live stream session, we can keep the community connected. We hope our viewers are going to enjoy today's event. Thanks everybody who is joining us today. My name is Yulia. I'm in charge of partner marketing at Unicheck, and we're going to talk about online learning, its challenges and benefits. And the great news is that we have two amazing guest speakers who are joining us today. So I'm honored to introduce Dr. Joe Salustio. Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing very well and remembering to take myself off mute. Thank you, Yulia.
Oh, yes. And we have Holly Owens. Hi, Holly.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Sunny morning here in California. By the way, everybody, let us know on the chat where you're connecting today from. Are you from the US, East Coast, West Coast? Let us know your location. So let me briefly introduce our guest speakers. Dr. Joe Salustio is an online education expert, a higher education award winner, and a podcast host with nearly 2 decades of experience in higher education operation. And we have Holly Owens, who is currently the Assistant Director of Instructional Design with Online Education. Holly has over 13 years of experience in education in various roles. Before we bounce to the conversation with our guest speakers, let me briefly introduce Unicheck product to you. Sorry, I'm having some trouble with my presentation here. I hope you can see my next slide. So let us know, everybody on the chat, are you already familiar with Unicheck? Maybe your school is already using our product. Just let us know. For those of you who meet us for the first time, Unicheck is an advanced plagiarism detection software that integrates into the Canvas framework. Unicheck complements the LMS functionality without interrupting the native workflows. The goal of Unicheck is to facilitate academic integrity and to enhance the educational process. Unicheck develops software that meets the needs of real people. We cater to our real users, the instructors, students, admins. So our product helps students to become successful. Our product helps teachers to focus on personalized approach to learning and automating their routine tasks for educators to have more free time. And of course, we deeply care about the needs of school administrators as we try to make the process of Unicheck integration as smooth as possible. Unicheck integration with Canvas is done literally within just a few clicks. and the entire setup takes up to 5-10 minutes. So let's dive into today's topic. The goal of today's live stream is to help you with the transition to online learning in the most effective way. We hope you'll get some helpful and inspiring insights out of our today's conversation. And let's start with the first question. As Mark mentioned in the very beginning, the pandemic has stimulated the mass movement to online learning. And the more online the educational system becomes, the greater usage there is of an LMS. So our question today is, we will try to answer this question together, how educators can maximize the effectiveness of LMS usage. Joe, please share your experience or maybe some best practices and tips with our viewers.
Thanks, Yulia, and thank you for listening, those of you that have joined us in the live stream. Look, guys, we are in a very unique time for higher education right now. And that uniqueness is an acceleration of a move to online learning, whether by choice or by force, depending on the university that you work at or are a part of. And that move to online learning can come with very positive consequences when it's done correctly, and very negative consequences if it's done incorrectly. So an LMS becomes extremely important, and Canvas is widely used for a very, very solid reason, and that's because of its user experience and the number of resources that Canvas has available for online learners. But when you're talking about maximizing the effectiveness of an LMS, here's what I'll say, just sort of from a 30,000-foot view, is you have to understand the number of resources available to you. I don't think there's a way to maximize the effectiveness within an LMS if you're doing it on your own. There are other universities out there. There are a number of resources. Even if you go to the instructure.com/Canvas site, there's a part of the site that talks about tools for online learning when the classroom closes. And it's specifically for schools and how they can create consistency in the online learning environment. So the biggest tip that I have is to learn from each other. Whether you teach at and I'm seeing a comment in here, whether you teach at a university or a high school, we know the K through 12 area has been extremely challenged. But as any school transitions to online learning, use the resources that are available to you. And then I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Holly Owens, who has more in-depth tips for you.
Thanks, Joe. So I would say the first thing that I would recommend that you do is tap on your instructional designers and your technologist, your support team, to get up to speed with training about how to use Canvas and the various features that it offers. Going online is not an easy feat. It's not an easier way to learn. It actually takes some back work. So going online in order to maximize the use of the LMS really takes some patience from the instructor to learn the tools and become confident in what you're doing. Think about, one of the things I recommend is think like a student and how you can use these tools to engage them online. I know it's challenging to say we have so much interactivity face-to-face, but we can definitely transition some of these activities into the online space and using Canvas.
Thank you. So we can jump to the next question, I guess. Let's talk about the main challenges of online learning. As you know, within several weeks after schools shut down, all major academic institutions transitioned to online. And even though the tendencies of online education have been taking place in the previous years, we've witnessed radical changes that took place just within a month. Some schools were more prepared for the transitions, while others struggled to adapt. So let's talk about a few most common challenges education system is facing, and let's try to discuss possible solutions to these challenges.
I'll start with that, Yulia. I've got a lot to say about this particular topic. I've been in higher ed and online learning for quite a long time. Guys, here, look, online learning is unique to and different than traditional in-classroom experience. And so the first thing that I think goes without saying is that it comes with a technology component, right? When you're looking at it from the ground up, moving to online learning, your student who maybe would have been coming to a traditional classroom is now in an online environment. That online environment takes navigation skills. It takes user experience. You have to know where to go and what to do and what to look for. So however your university or college or school designs, which is another major roadblock to distance learning today, but I have a feeling Holly will talk about that a little bit. No matter how you design the online learning experience, you have to understand that the technology both can enhance that user experience for the student, or it can deter them from moving forward with that user experience. And so a major roadblock that we need to overcome is the navigation. We have to make sure that as students are onboarded into the LMS, they have a good idea of how to navigate through the system to get their assignments, post their assignments, do what they need to do, find out where their grades are, find out what their next class might be. The way to do that is to make sure that you have some preventative measures in place, right? We want to prevent the student from looking at technology as the excuse for not continuing forward with their education. So an online orientation becomes extremely important. Onboarding, right? And that's the key. We have to onboard that student to their specific technology. It's like if you start a job as an adjunct teacher, or you start a new job in whatever kind of industry you work on, there's some kind of an onboarding process that familiarizes you with the technology you're going to use. And if you don't know what that technology is, you feel lost. So we have to eliminate that uncertainty from the student. And the other major tip I'm going to give is think about, to Holly's point, think about this from the student perspective. The student is in a 24/7 technology world. They're on TikTok, particularly if you're looking at any future undergraduate students or current undergrad students. They're on TikTok. They're doing short videos. They're on Instagram. They're taking pictures. They're using a lot of technology. Okay, do the assignments that you build within your LMS for your institution reflect the way that the student consumes information? Is there a choice on the way those students complete their assignments? If it's all writing these days and there's no engagement, because engagement is a big part of a roadblock, right? Engaging a student, particularly one who has never worked online before and has only done on ground, engaging them is a totally different deal than in a traditional classroom setting where they come and sit down somewhere. So think about those things. Can you engage the student how they learn, right? Because they're on the screens, and screen time right now is at an all-time high. I guarantee you, some of you right now on this chat have checked your phone while Holly or I have been talking. And that's because your screens are sitting in front of you when they wouldn't be at other times. So are we meeting the student where they are? And those are my major tips. And Holly, I'll kick it over to you.
Thanks, Joe. So I would say that when we transition to online, the biggest challenge is we lose the human experience, the body language, talking with the students, being around them, seeing them in the classroom. And we need to try to humanize the online learning experience. So we do that through developing community in our online classes, whether that's using things like discussion boards or having students work in groups where they use technology to, present information and they get to know each other. So you as the instructor, one solution to this is really communicating with your students constantly, making sure, reaching out to them. And I really think it's so important, and I do this with my students, to check in with them today. See how they're doing. We're all dealing with different facets of this pandemic, and I want to make sure that the students are okay, and then we can move on with the activities and talk about the content. So I definitely use discussion boards. I definitely use announcements quite frequently just to check in with the students. And some other tools that I use in Canvas to keep my students aware that I am paying attention to them is in the Canvas gradebook, the Message Students Who feature is one of my favorite features because it allows me to reach out to my students and alert them if they are missing assignments, but it also allows me to send them something positive. So I use it to say, hey, you did great on this assignment. And again, that's developing, the students getting a good feel about the class and developing the community. And like Joe was saying, reach them and be where they're at. The TikTok, the Instagram, make sure that you're trying to make your activities, you don't have to make it the same as those, but you want to engage them with the technology. The technology is very important to humanizing that online learning experience. So it really does enhance it. Another thing I would say is making sure that the course is accessible for everyone. So look at those universal design for learning standards and/or accessibility standards. And some of you may use quality assurance rubrics at your institutions, and those standards are included in those rubrics. So make sure you're reaching out again to that support team that can help you embed those different things into your courses.
And then I would say one last thing, Holly, and I know you agree, and many others that we've spoken to in our industry of higher ed, A does not equal B. So you can't take something that was built for physical on-ground instruction and just take that product as it exists and move it online and expect that you're going to get the same learning outcomes. You have to design and build specifically for online learning. It comes with all different types of standards, as Holly said. So that's an important thing. And when we talk about roadblocks and the student experience, we've been seeing and hearing a lot of articles about people saying online learning may not be for me, or I've had trouble in online learning. Remote learning is not the same as online learning.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that? The shift happens so fast, the shift from the traditional school to online learning. It was very easy for kids to adapt and learn because technology, basically they've been raised with the technology. However, there are some old school teachers, professors, and for them, it was such a rapid shift. They actually struggled a little bit to adapt and to transform their physical classroom into an online classroom. Do you have a suggestion, like an advice for those people, how to adapt faster?
I don't think it's necessarily about adapting faster to the technology because this still is going to be in waves. We transitioned to emergency remote teaching, and then now we're going into the fall, and we want to just do better. We want to encourage those faculty or teachers to learn something new. Every time I train a faculty, the important part for me is that they feel comfortable and confident in their skills and using the technology. It's not necessarily about learning everything. I always give the example of a toolbox. You have all these different tools that you can use as far as educational technology goes and tools available in the learning management system, but you don't need to use everything because everything is not applicable to your content or what you're trying to accomplish with your course learning goals. So you want to be sure you're using the tools that work best for you to get students from point A to point B, and when they leave your class, they either feel prepared for the next class or they feel prepared for the workplace wherever they're going. So I think it's important that faculty don't feel like they have to learn everything, that they can take this in steps, but they definitely do need to have surface level knowledge and also be open to technology. The resistance is going to create fear amongst the faculty, and resisting things is going to make it more difficult for the students, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make this a valuable learning experience for the students. So I would say take it one step at a time and do your best.
Thank you.
Hey, so quick, I'm going to jump in because that's what I do. I make things awkward around here. Let's start with Joe on this, because Joe, you brought up an interesting point a second ago. We've got a question from Kim Whiteside here on LinkedIn who says, how do you differentiate remote learning from online learning? Which I love the question. So Joe, let's start with you and then we'll go over to Holly.
So I have the luxury of talking to a lot of university presidents about this very, very issue on my podcast. And I will tell you guys that when you boil it down, amidst the coronavirus time, because that's when remote learning sort of became a thing. Remote learning is really when students, when a university, school, college, whatever, it doesn't matter, took their curriculum that was taught on ground and moved it, tried to slam it into an online environment. And now I'm at home as a student taking this curriculum that was really built for a traditional classroom, but I'm taking it online. That's really what remote learning is. I'm learning the same stuff, but I'm learning it over here. It's not built for the online environment. True online learning is designed from scratch to be engaging and applicable for the learner who's going to be learning 100% online the majority of the time. So there's a big difference on taking a product and trying to learn that same curriculum remotely and taking curriculum and designing it for true online instruction. And so that's really when you boil it down, and there are a lot of articles written about the difference. And that's simply that. You can't take a product that was built for one thing and stick it into another and expect that the learning outcomes are going to be the same, because they're not. And I hope, that's a simple answer, but that truly is. And Ali, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I was just going to say the big difference to me, and Joe, you're definitely alluding to this, is the pedagogy. The pedagogy behind remote teaching, as Joe was saying, you're simply putting the resources up there, and you may be meeting with the students synchronously, still as you would in a classroom where you see them every day. But online learning, you really think about how you're doing the activities and you're aligning things. It becomes more interactive. It becomes more like you're in the classroom and the students are working in those groups and you're checking in with them, throughout the activity. You're grading them, you're offering feedback in the learning management system. So those sort of things, when you consider the pedagogy and how you're teaching it, then it shifts from remote to online learning, because learning, as we know, encompasses the pedagogy, the content, and all those different things that we associate with learning.
And to the earlier question, the key here isn't to perfect remote learning that happened that was created from the coronavirus, and the number of teachers that maybe didn't have technology experience that now had to teach online. The key is that we got by that period. What happened between A and B to prepare students for online learning? That's really what happened between point A and point B to prepare faculty for the fact that they may have to teach online, because we're seeing coronavirus continue to spike. Schools are rethinking their decision to open. So that means online learning may take a much more central role. What happened in that preparation period? That's really the key.
Awesome. Unicheck team, back to you to keep going.
Yeah, I actually want to say huge thanks to everybody who is joining us and asking questions on chat. I can see that the YouTube community is super active, and I really love the point that Jessica Cunningman shared about TikTok. So when you were talking about TikTok, Jessica says that she actually did use TikTok as an instructional tool last year, and her 10 graders loved it. So we're happy that, this discussion is really interactive. Please share more, how things are going on your side with utilizing various technologies and tools. Do we need to somehow summarize everything we've just said before we jump to the next topic, which will be plagiarism? Do you want to say any words of conclusion? I don't know, a few top tips for every educator or school to follow when they are transitioning to online learning?
Yeah, I think that would be good, Yulia. If we want to take, Joe, maybe let's start with you, because you're getting picked on a lot today, and that's not going to change in the next 20 minutes. Let's start with you just to kind of do a wrap up of what are those top tips, things that you would recommend for people who are transitioning right now and preparing for next year, and then we'll go to Holly.
Top tips. It's all about teaching and learning. So is your online learning curriculum built for effective online teaching and learning? I would also tell you that there are a number of plugins and integrations that you can look at to enhance the online experience through plugins to Canvas, dropout detective, early warning systems, predictive analytics, because it's not just about transitioning to online learning. It's about retaining your students and teaching them, having quality teaching in that online learning environment. Canvas is a robust learning management system that provides thousands upon thousands of resources for schools to take a peek at. So in summary, I would say, and I go back to that point of you're not alone. There are a number of experts out there like Holly. I call Holly when I need advice for online learning. And so use your resources and use the available resources that Canvas has. They build a community around giving you the resources that you need to make transitions like this.
And by the way, Holly, before you jump in there, for those who aren't a member of the Canvas community, it is 700,000 educators strong. If you have a question or an issue, whether it's with a partner that you're integrating with, or assignments or LTIs or whatever else, chances are someone else has already dealt with it and figured out the problem. So go join that Canvas community now. You'll be really happy that you did. Holly, over to you.
Great, and I want to echo the community, because when we transitioned to Canvas, that's how I learned Canvas, is from the community. So besides playing with the tool, so it's a really wonderful place. I would say, and echoing Joe's sentiments, is that collaborate. Like he said, we're not in this alone. You have other instructors at your institution that are going through the same things that you're going through. So have somebody come in your course, maybe do a peer review. I know that sounds scary. It's like somebody reading your term paper, but have them give you some feedback. Say, hey, you could do this, or I had this idea, share with your colleagues, do those types of things. Again, reach out for that help. Tap your instructional designers, your technologists, your IT team, whoever is considered the main support at your institution. If you have Canvas support, they can help. Make sure that you're reaching out for help and not struggling, because we're all here and we're all in this together, and we want to help each other. We want to make this better for our students. The other thing too is take the initiative to actually learn the technology. This is a great time for you to sit down over the summer months. Those of you in K through 12 or higher ed who have the summer off, and take some professional development opportunities. A lot of the conferences are going online, the ed tech conferences, and they're free. There's tons of free stuff, out there for you to explore. And I encourage you to take the time to do that. So definitely my top 3 are reach out, collaborate, and take the initiative to learn the technology.
Okay, thank you so much. I suggest moving to our next topic, which is a bit tricky and a bit, more specific. Is plagiarism becoming a bigger issue when education moves to online? Have you noticed any tendencies of getting worse? Or on the other hand, maybe there are some solutions, again, like tech solutions, that help you prevent your students from plagiarizing. Let's start with Holly this time.
Sure. So we at our institution, we have Turnitin integrated. So I use that tool as a teaching tool, not as one that's negative. So for the students, my goal is for them to submit their papers, and then they get their similarity report, and discuss with them what they could have done better. So we use APA style in my class. So I want to take that opportunity to use that technology and teach them how to actually properly cite and do things. And believe it or not, throughout the semester, it gets better. The students they do better on the assignments, and they're not plagiarizing as much. So I think that using a tool like that, some people are very leery about online because they're submitting things or they're copy and pasting from the web. Just giving them that support again really helps deter from the plagiarism, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'll add to that yeah, I think the answer is yes. I mean, I think the opportunity for plagiarism in an online environment is greater, right? It's easy to throw up an internet browser and copy and paste, right? So I think one of the keys when you're building online assignments is to avoid any type of copy paste assignments, any assignments that are easy to submit in a copy paste environment. Also add that you have to prevent plagiarism from happening. And let me get real with you guys for a second, because we're talking about learners, and learning is not easy. And so, yeah, you have your traditional 18-year-old, going to college in a traditional environment. And then we have the faster growing part of the population, which is adult learners, people who go back to school. Now, I remember going for my graduate degree, I had to look up, one of my first assignments was to create a thesis statement. I had been out of school for 10 years. I had no idea I could not remember for the life of me what a thesis statement was. So it's easier to copy and paste when you don't know something. So one of the best ways to prevent it is to have student choice involved in the assignment. Are there multiple ways that an assignment can be submitted that give the student a choice on how to do it? Because if you're choosing how you want to submit it, there's less likelihood of you going and feeling frustration that leads you to plagiarize. So real-time assignments, applicable assignments, are good to prevent plagiarism. But I think it's a more about plagiarism prevention and understanding that most people, and this is just from my experience, most people who plagiarize don't understand that they've done it. They think that they've cited, they think that putting in a whole page of block quotations was not plagiarizing, but there is intent behind it. The intent is usually not premeditated. It's a lack of understanding. And I think that's key, because we don't want people to just plagiarize and have a negative mark on them. To Holly's point, we want to train people through it.
Yeah, and probably another question that I have for you, Holly, is that you mentioned how it is important to explain to students, this importance of using plagiarism detection for their benefits, so that they can actually learn how to write more, correctly and efficiently. So what is your approach? Could you just tell us a bit more in detail? So do you, instruct every person on your class in person, or do you just provide them some, inspirational speech in the beginning of the semester? So how is the process going?
Sure. So initially, the first assignment or so, my course is not a writing intensive course, but I do want students they're grad students, to learn how to be scholarly writers. So for the initial assignment, most of the time instructors, that will be they'll grade the hardest. That's probably the one I grade the easiest, because I want to give them proper feedback, and I spend time making comments on their papers, especially about the APA formatting. So for the students, I really, I talk to them how to use the similarity report to benefit them. They can see where they got the information from, and I can see exactly where they got the information from if it's, written out as a direct quote. And I can say this needs a source. Anything that's not common knowledge needs a source. So using the tool initially as, I don't want to say practice, but doing a couple of them where the students, you're not being so difficult on them, and give them some lessons and some content behind it and some examples. That's another thing I do, is provide lots of examples. If you think about where we start in our writing to where we go if we're in a doctoral program, we learn so many different things throughout. I give the students, examples of good and bad. And they really do learn by the end of the semester, and they're very appreciative of the fact, they're like, nobody's ever taught me this before, or was this, kind and just showed me how to do this. I understand what plagiarism is, but I didn't really understand the mechanics or the, behind how to do things, how to properly cite or provide that references page. So using the tool to just teach them, and then from there they like to submit it. They're like, oh, I didn't do well on that one, so I maybe need to go back and check that I cited my sources, or I need to add some references, and it really does work.
Yeah, thank you so much. And honestly, this is really inspiring. I think this is, some example of best practices for many educators to follow. And by the way, we have a comment here on YouTube from Elizabeth, who is saying that most students don't know what plagiarism is. So this is what Dr. Joe was talking about, that it's very important to actually provide students with specific guidelines and explain to them that sometimes they may not be aware that they are plagiarizing. So are there any other things you'd like to add before we jump to the product demo? Anything on this topic? All right, then. So for everybody who is watching us, a quick announcement at the beginning of this session. Hopefully we'll have some time for a few more questions for our guest speakers to answer. But before we move to our Q&A, short Q&A session, we'll have a very brief demo of Unicheck product. And now I'm handing it to Maria from Unicheck team. She'll do a Unicheck demo.
Thank you, Julia. And thank you, Dr. John. Thank you, Holly. It was super informative. And I actually, I really support what you're doing because we're very passionate educators. And this is actually what keeps us going. This is why we invest more time and more human power to develop the tools that will not just punish students or show if they borrowed some information from somewhere, but it's about education. It's about the academic integrity. We want them to just be aware that there is a tool, and we just want them to study, and we want them to be passionate about education. So I'll share my screen, and let's go. Can you see?
We can see like 1,000 of your screens. Yeah, now we can see it.
So we will not go through installation or anything like this. It's super easy. I will just go through the assignment creation, and this will take just a couple of seconds. So, as you can see, we are operating in Canvas ecosystem, and it's because Unicheck has a very deep integration into Canvas. It's seamless, and some of the students don't even realize that there is Unicheck somewhere in the background. What we do, we fill all the forms, add the Unicheck, and there are a couple of settings that are actually important for the teachers, like add submission to institutional library, because sometimes it's not needed, and all the uploads are not saved to the institutional library if you switch it off. This is done so.
Hey, Maria, we're having some issues on your audio for some reason. I don't know if you have some headphones there that you could pop up. We're hearing Yulia, and I think everybody else just fine.
I just actually texted Maria about it. Yeah, it would be great if we can, stop for a second, and probably you can find some headphones for us to hear you better.
How's that for real-time changing, everybody? We've still got a good crowd here, so let's jump in for a minute. Dr. Joe, Holly, it's time for you again. We want to hear. It was interesting to get some thoughts there from Elizabeth, of course, that like Yulia said, students just didn't even know what plagiarism was. Are you seeing that on an ongoing basis? How are you educating people about what is okay and what isn't okay, and how is Unicheck a part of that?
Well, I'll just say broadly. That to think that maybe there's people out there, and for anybody that's higher education, getting a graduate degree, doctorate, doesn't matter. You don't just understand how to cite properly. You have to work at it continuously. If there's a number of educators on the comments, some doctors. If you ask anybody, how do you cite 4 authors? If you're syncing up their comments, I don't think anybody just goes, "Oh, I know exactly how to do that." You got to look it up. And so a big part of training people on plagiarism and understanding it is really working at it. And you have to work at it continuously. It never ends. And a program like Unicheck can really get you there. If you're using Unicheck, turn it in, it doesn't matter, as a training tool, to Holly's point, your students will eventually get it, but they're going to make mistakes. And so you have to understand that citations and and properly avoiding plagiarism. I mean, of course, there's the blatant copy paste, right? Hopefully you're not doing that. Hopefully it's more subtle, but it's the level of understanding that's really so important.
I agree,
Yeah,
and
Maria,
I think
that
that yo, there's Maria. Hi, Maria. I'm just gonna say one thing, and I think it's important that we bridge those gaps with the students when they come into our classes. They may or may not have had the information shared with them, so we want to make sure at the beginning that we are sharing what the expectation is with them. We're not keeping that a secret, and we're just being open about it and letting them know that this is what you're going to learn, and hopefully we'll avoid some plagiarizing, and you'll be a scholarly writer by the end of the class.
Awesome. Maria, give us a little test. 1, 2, 3.
Hi guys, I'm still here.
Yeah, we can hear you much better.
Sounds better.
Thank you. All right. So I'll just skip one little part and we will just look at the report because this is mostly what teachers are working with. We're trying to make it simple and we're trying to make it very user-friendly. So let me know if you can see my screen now.
Yep.
All right. So we are in Canvas ecosystem in the normal assignments. So let's see how it looks for teachers. Unicheck is present in 2 spots in Canvas, which is SpeedGrader and Grades. So we'll check how it looks in SpeedGrader. So all the native features of the SpeedGrader are here. So the commenting tools and the grading tools. And Unicheck is presented just here where we can see the percentage. And there's a little color mask always. The warmer the color, the more plagiarized or copied the assignment is. So here is the actual similarity report generated by Unicheck system. There are a couple of things that I would like to point out. So here we can see the similarity score. For the navigation, there is a mini map and also the legend. And of course, one of the most important things is the sources. So we have a very interconnected report. Every single highlighted part is clickable and you can always see the source. And we have a thing called side-by-side comparison, which is very easy and also user-friendly. The teacher can always compare and decide for themselves whether it was actually copied from somewhere, borrowed from somewhere, or it's a simple task or a question from the teacher that should be included in the assignment. If this is the case, we can always exclude this kind of source from the total percentage of plagiarism, just to have an overview. But don't worry, all the exclusions are kept in the exclusion tab, and you can always access it at any time. You might have noticed that there is a red attention tab here. So this feature is called Modified, and this is an advanced cheating detection tool. Modified detects instances of character replacement and various text manipulations. Let's see how it looks over here. So this is how it looks, and this is what happened. A student substituted letters A and O with the similar looking character from the different language. This makes this text unreadable for the plagiarism detection system. What Unicheck does, it reverts the changes and runs the check again. So if we check this bit, Unicheck have found the place where this was copied from. Modify detects not only character replacement, but also color hidden characters, special symbols, multiple document layers. When we were working on this feature, we actually were consulting with a lot of educators and people who knows their thing. And we have found that there are actually 30 different types of plagiarism. Just copying information, pasting it into the document, that's the simple stuff. Students get really, really creative. And this is why we have added this feature, and there's a couple of other things that are coming. So I can tell you one thing, we are tireless and we are working on actually having this supporting tool to make the teacher's life a little easier. So to point out the things that are important, to point out the things that teachers should pay attention to. And as you can see, there's a commenting tool, the same as in SpitGrader, but a little bit more simplified. We do this so the ability to leave comments and receiving inline feedback, it makes it more convenient for the teachers. So we would like to provide a supporting tool. And we're very happy that we're working with Canvas, because actually we're a community-driven company, and it's very important. We're always listening to the educators. We're always listening, what can we do to make the tool easier and the educator's life a bit better, and not to waste so much time on searching for such an interesting cases of copying information from somewhere. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. I actually wanted to add just one small point about what you're saying, that we're a community-driven product. We definitely are, and we really love to keep this connection with educators. You can, to all the people who are viewing us, you can definitely go ahead and follow Unicheck on social media to stay, keep up with our latest updates. And also, we post a lot of cool stuff on our blog, and we post interviews with educators. And one of our recent interviews was with Dr. Joe. So I encourage everybody to go ahead and read the interview after we're done with this stream. Yeah, I think that's it for today, right, Mark? I don't see many questions left unanswered here.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty great job. If there's any last questions from anybody in the community, we've still got a big group that is on. Any last questions you want to ask Dr. Joe or to Holly or to the Unicheck team, we're going to give you about 30 seconds of me stalling. So put those lightning fire fingers on your keyboards and start writing in those questions for us. Any last thoughts, Holly, as we've gone through and talked a lot about online learning and remote learning and the problem of plagiarism and so many other things today? Let's get some happy words of advice. That teachers and educators have been through a lot the past 5 months. Any words of motivation that you can share to help people get through this summer, those who are teaching and those who are preparing for back to school as well?
I think it's important for self-care. I think it's very important that educators take care of themselves, especially with the time off. I did say learn some technology, but do that for fun, not because you feel like it's something you have to do. So take care of yourself, be with your families, be with your friends, social distancing, of course, and make sure that you're just getting ready for the fall, and, making sure that you are still excited about education, because although COVID-19 happened, you notice education didn't stop. We kept going. So it's important that you consider that. And we're thankful for all that you do as educators and faculty for the students. So just keep going, and everything's going to be okay. There's numerous support for you, and it's great. I really love the education community, because I can always reach out and find somebody that's going to be helpful or kind and offer some sort of resource that I can use. So just keep going. You're doing great.
Dr. Joe.
Look, unprecedented times. At Claremont Lincoln University, we teach mindfulness, and that's one of our most in-demand areas right now. And to echo what Holly's saying, I think we have to self-care. It's really important. Our teachers are the lifeblood of the world, particularly if you have tried to homeschool your kids, which is the hardest thing in the history of the world. So I applaud all of our teachers at any level. Teaching is so hard. You guys are doing amazing. And we here in higher ed, we can help in a number of ways, particularly as we've had more experience generally in online education. So reach out to your resources. And I will tell you, Holly, knowing her is one of the most helpful people I know. Please reach out to her or I, and we will do what we can to help.
Awesome. I did see a question there from Iris, who was wondering, we did a really great session with a school district out in Pennsylvania, the Elizabeth Forward School District. That is supposed to be coming, just barely dropped in the chat pod. that they're doing using Canvas K-12. Maybe a video that you want to check out. There's some really cool stuff there that I think you could learn from a K-5 perspective. Also want to make sure everybody's aware we are wanting to help everybody get up and ready to go back to school. And we've created a virtual leadership session series, four different sessions with some elite educators from around the country to help you put together that plan for going back. We kick off next week. Still have some room in there. If you're interested, feel free to shoot me a note. My email is mark.booth, BOOTHE, @instructure.com. I'm happy to hook you up with some sweet discount. We just love to have as many educators there as we can because it's pretty incredible content that'll help you prepare. With that, big thanks to Holly and Dr. Joe, and especially to our partners at Unicheck. Go check them out. They're either in the Canvas community, go check them out on social, on their website. We're so grateful for them. And we hope you stay safe out there. We'll see you again soon, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Happy 4th.
Bye, everyone.